All right, happy Friday. Welcome to the deep dive. Let's go to the browser for far over there. Also, let me mention in the chat here to this person if I can self and ID know. Does this play sound? All right, well, I don't hear anymore because I turned the sound off. I don't really see any previews that are running that have... I don't know where that came from. Okay. Let me, before we get into the intro and everything, let me mention here in the chat to this person, Mark Hoferitza. I don't know if they'll be watching or not. If so, my apologies if I got your name wrong. Is asking here, or in fact did ask this a little while ago here in the chat. I just placed an order. I forgot a couple items. I'm gonna get those added. This thing doesn't have timestamps, so I don't know exactly when that was there. Can you reply to people? I don't know how that works on YouTube, really. Seemed like it. So to get to the point of it, though, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think orders can be edited. As far as I am aware, this cannot be edited. I am a remote contractor, not involved in order processing. I'm not sure. Okay. What is up, VP Tech Ops over on Discord? Thanks for tuning in. We're almost ready, I think. All right, yes. So welcome, first of all. Thanks to everyone watching. If you are new and don't know, this is the Deep Dive. My name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. This is a weekly live stream program where we are getting into the nitty-gritty of CircuitPython development. This was a live stream that was originally started by Scott Shawcroft, the lead developer of CircuitPython. He is out right now on parental leave, so I am filling in here. As the lead developer, he tends to work on cutting edge, really, really deep, low-level stuff, hence the name Deep Dive. When I'm around, I do typically work at a bit of a higher level. I do a bit more work at the Python level than the C CircuitPython core level. And I also work on libraries and infrastructure and surrounding stuff like that. So yeah, this is just a kind of weekly live stream to get a peek at whatever we happen to be working on for the week, and a chance for folks to ask questions or interact or anything like that, or just learn about kind of upcoming stuff or ongoing active development in CircuitPython land. If you are in fact new and don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more at the main website for it right here, circuitpython.org. That is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. Typically, these devices, you will plug them into your computer with a USB cable. They show up like a thumb drive. When you're using CircuitPython with them, you can edit a Python code file on that thumb drive, and then when you save it, the tiny computer, the actual microcontroller, the computer that's inside this chip, will interpret and execute that Python code for you using the CircuitPython system. There are 605 different boards right now that support CircuitPython. All of these boards, or at the very least the vast majority of them, can be programmed in many different ways. CircuitPython is just one of the ways to do it, but it is the way that we work on here on this stream. As always, huge thanks to Adafruit. Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York. They are the ones who make CircuitPython possible by paying the folks who work on CircuitPython, including Scott and myself, as well as some other folks on the team. So if you would like to help support CircuitPython and all of the work that Scott and I and the rest of the team are doing on CircuitPython and all of the other stuff that Adafruit publishes, please consider purchasing hardware from them at their website, adafruit.com. You can get microcontrollers, you can get little doodads to hook up to your microcontrollers. You can also head over to the Learn Guide to find loads and loads of different projects that you can build with your microcontrollers and all your different stuff, and many of them using CircuitPython, in fact. All right, yeah, some might say the best way. Yes, I would probably say that. However, I will also caveat that I am probably biased. But I do consider it definitely the best way to program microcontrollers in my mind, because it's just so quick to be able to iterate, which is really what drew me to it. So today, where I am diving in is over in the requests library. So Adafruit, actually, let's go GitHub, Adafruit, CircuitPython requests. So if you are have experience with CPython, normal, big Python, you might have heard of a library called requests. We have a CircuitPython equivalent to the library requests, which basically allows you to make HTTP requests to remote servers. So this allows you to fetch data from the internet, essentially, or send data to the internet. And specifically where I'm jumping in is this little red X right here. If we dive into the core root of this, is basically that one of the tests is trying to call out to, is it HTTP bin or something, I think? What's the name of this service? Let's try to get this right. I'm not actually sure the name of the service. I also did not open this up ahead of time, so let's get this open. But while this is going, I'll say the gist of it is the test is calling out to a remote server. The remote server sometimes does not, is not working, right? Like the remote server could be down or whatever. The internet could be broken or something. And the test does not handle the case when the remote server is like down or not responding in the way that we expect, at the very least. Because we see that this thing failed because the server returned us a 503 response, but we compared that to a 204 inside of an assert. We said, we're getting a status code back and it has to be 204, otherwise the test fails. It was 503, so the test failed. 503, if memory serves, is like a server-side service unavailable, kind of generic, like just server wasn't ready, basically. It was internally, it was down. Like usually 500 level errors are like you have a web application running behind a web server. So you have an actual web application written in Python or Ruby or PHP or whatever. You have a web server like Apache or Nginx running. When a web request comes in, it goes through Apache or Nginx. And then if your application is down or like crashed or stuck or frozen or whatever, and doesn't respond to that web server, Apache or Nginx, quick enough, internally on that server, then you get some of these 503, 502. Okay, I know what I was actually going to look for was MDN. We can go status codes. Let's see if 503. Maybe there's something a little bit more interesting there as far as what it is, but I think the gist of the 500s are basically that. Yeah, so service unavailable, server's not ready to handle a request. Server's down for maintenance or overloaded or whatever. It sent a reply to you, though. Like, we got a 503 response. That response came from the server. It's just the main application on the server that's intended to reply was unable to. And so I would ultimately like for the test to not rely on a third-party server, so we're going to try to make a way for it to not need to rely on that. And I think the easiest way is just, we have Python inside the test. I think Python can be a web server. We don't need a web server that's particularly complex. All it really needs to do is return like a 200 and a 204. or something like that, and that's all it really needs to do. So I think we should be able to just make this with Python, run it locally inside of the action, inside the test, and then it's like it can hit localhost instead of the internet, and it can just bounce off the server that we control. Real call test, so that's here. So essentially this is going and saying, so we have it's actually a series of 3 different tests that are going to get run. It's kind of in a spreadsheet sort of action here, which is interesting. It's got like a header row that defines the column name, looks like, and then it's got a status, so HTTP response status, text response. Some of these are expecting none, some of these are expecting empty. This one's using JSON, the rest of them aren't. And the gist of this test is, though, it's going to hit it is httpbin.org/path, so it's going to hit /get/status/200/status/204, then it's going to get the response, and it's going to make sure that all the stuff is how it's supposed to be. So we really just want a simple little rinky-dink web server that can respond to a 200, a 204, and that's all it really needs to do. We just need to make sure it's going to respond with the right stuff, and then we should be able to just swap that out for like localhost and a port or something. So is there a Python simple? So I know there's Python simple HTTP server, which can like host a file server. Can this like... we need to know, I guess, how to make the handler. Create a simple HTTP server. So this I know about. This is like, it will serve that directory for you. That's not really what I want. I don't think. Is it? No, because we're gonna... Well, we're not posting it. I mean, maybe we could fake it with like static files. I think we want an actual server though. How can I make a cut? There must be a way to make to figure out how to make our own one of these, I'm pretty sure. If we made our own one of these, then we could put it like that, and it would do whatever we want instead of just serving files from a directory. So we need to basically learn how to implement a custom one of these. Or maybe not a custom one of those, because we don't necessarily want to do like the same stuff. We just want to redefine everything. This is looking fairly promising. Right, so do get is called for get requests. Yeah. I think this is basically where we want to be. I'm going to take this. I am just going to make this inside of... I think we're going to make it its own thing, actually. So let's make tests. So I'll call this real call test server. Or maybe we'll just call it test server, because we could potentially use it for more of the tests. Okay, and so this, yeah, just to be clear as well, since we were talking about microcontrollers, and since the kind of primary theme of this stream is CircuitPython, just to be clear though, this Python code, this test, it is going to run in CPython, not on the device, right? This will run inside of GitHub Actions primarily. You can run it locally if you want as well, but it does not run on CircuitPython devices. We are in kind of infrastructure land a bit here. I don't know, test server handler, doesn't really matter. Where do you want that server to run? Where does the code will execute? So it's going to run, my goal is that it's going to run as part of the test, essentially. The test is going to be like, run this server and then run this test function. That's the goal. Yeah, that's the goal. So maybe what I think maybe what we'll need to do is like we make the server, and then inside of here, when the test starts up, we want to like launch the server right here. It's gonna have to be asynchronous somehow though, right? Because we need it to, well, but there's like a serve forever though, right? So that's, but is that gonna return? That's probably not gonna return. It's probably not gonna return actually. We might need to use a thread or something. Yeah, I think we will need to use something that makes it asynchronous somehow. But let's cross that bridge in a few minutes when we get to it. What is up, y'all? Know? Nice to see you, my friend. On a non-third-party server. So it's not going to run, so it's not permanent, right? This will not just live on the internet and be hosted forever. It will only run as part of this test. So like whenever this test wants to run, it will spin up this server inside of the little GitHub Actions container that it's running inside of. It will do its test, it will hit its localhost server, and then it will shut everything back down. It will never be open to the outside world. It will never just like stay hosted or anything like that. Like it will just live inside of this little run in the test, and then it will go back away. Wi-Fi test. I mean, we could use well, so one thing is though, specifically the main thing that this test was added for was this 204. It checks a couple of other things as well, but this 204 was actually the main like fix that this test got added along with. So whatever URL we use, whatever server we use, we do need it to handle 204 specifically. I don't know if the Adafruit Wi-Fi one does. Ironically, the web workflow has a lot of 204 responses, but there's no, like, we can't get a web workflow inside of the Actions container to test against. So that would be kind of cool if we could. Okay, so we basically just implement these functions like it said here, do get, we can then check the path. And let's see what these actually do return. So /status /200. Okay, it's not gonna. All right, so that does just return a 200, and it looks like no body. Yeah, content length 0, no body. Okay, so that one must be testing content length 0. And then importantly, it gave us the 200 status as well. And so 204 would do pretty much the same thing, but that one's going to give us a 204 status. Interestingly, Firefox seems to count that as bad, but I think it's fine. And again, well, in this case, it actually doesn't have content length, which was the original bug that was getting fixed that led us down this rabbit hole. Okay, so those don't need to do anything special, really. They just need to reply with that, with the correct status code. This one can have a content length. This one doesn't need it. This one is a bit different, though. So that's saying that we are gonna... What with that? This is JSON keys. Are those getting used? I don't think those are getting used. I guess that's only for the response. It's not something you send to the server. If you just say get... to back 502 bad gateway. So this, yeah, I think possible this is just like essentially what we're trying to fix, is that sometimes this server, yeah, see, like sometimes that server is not working. This time it was a 502 instead of a 503. Like slightly different part of it was not working, but okay. So this gives a bunch of stuff, and URL is amongst it, which is what the test is testing against. So our little server, when you request /get, we need to return this JSON. And for the others, we just need to return the status code, empty body, content length for 200, status code, content, no content length, still empty body. So should be like application JSON for this one, I think, right? Looks like that wants bytes as well, so we're gonna go JSON.dumps URL that's in the test. Oops. And we need to then code that. Encode that? Decode that. Encode. Okay. W file, right? Okay, so I don't know if this will have the I don't know, will it do content length automatically, or do we need to calculate that and add it ourselves, I wonder? Also, we need to start the server, which was like this, pretty much. Okay, that was just... like 5,000 for that handler. Okay. Why is it red though? Oh. Need an init? Need an init. That tried to run it as a test though. I actually want to run it as a test. I want to just run it as a Python file. But it's in the test directory. Let's be a test. Or it starts with test. Maybe we should change the name to something else. Supposedly that's running at port 5000. So if we go localhost 5000/get, nice. Did we get a content length? No. Okay. So if we want content length, we need to add it ourselves, and I think we probably should. So, does content length... that's rough though, because does content length include headers? Or only the body? I think it's only the body, right? Should be body. Bytes of data in the body. Okay, so we already know what we're going to reply with, basically, which is this. So we can just count the number of characters in that length. Could make response body. Expected string got int. Oh. Yeah. Length returns an int, but content length headers are strings because they go through TCP. It's a string even if it's a number. It's actually a string. Let's rerun this. Hmm, 34. Okay. Hopefully that's actually 4 bytes. Yep, 34 characters. Shows it down here. I've already highlighted some more now, though. Okay, so that's easy. Next, if self.path starts with status. Split the path on the /. We want to get all the parts of the /, basically, so that we can figure out how to get the next one, essentially, the one that comes after /status. Status 200. Actually, oh. I think it's mad because I didn't reply. And maybe the browser tried a few times or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, 0, 1, 2, we know that 2 is the index of our status value. So status, say requested status is going to be self.path.split 2. And then we will return that type of status. So we say, whoops, this, and it's going to be a requested status, but we'll make it an int. And if it's invalid, then this is going to raise an exception. What happens? Int value error. Let's say requested status equals that int. Let's say try except value error. Well, okay, in this case, we will send them the response 400, which is bad request. Yeah, I'm just gonna do JSON, I guess. Response body is gonna be error. Status code must be int. The length, we should maybe make a function like return response or something that does a bunch of this automatically, but that's cool. Do we need a body? Yeah, we need a body. Okay. So if they gave a wrong value, give them an error. Otherwise, we move on. We got the requested status. It is an int for sure. We already know. We can respond with the status they requested. I don't know, what was the MIME type? I mean, they didn't return any, like, stuff, so does the MIME type actually matter? And type text HTML. We'll mimic that, even though, like, it doesn't have a body, so I would argue it doesn't matter. And they actually, so the weird thing is if it's 200, you actually get content length 0, which, like, I don't really necessarily know why. So we'll say if requested status is 200, then we also want to send the header of the content length and set that to 0. Or maybe we should do it the other way around, and if it is not 200, then we don't do that. Otherwise, we do. I'm not actually sure what it does for some of the other statuses, but the test is only testing 200 and 204. I'm only going to worry about those. Okay, but what we'll do is that'll be 204. So if it's not 204, we send a length. And if it is 204, we do not send a length. What's up, Gordy G? Nice to see you, my friend. Okay, and then there's no body with this one, so I think we're done. I mean, do we need to do that? I don't know if we need to do that thing. So I think we just do that, and then I think the browser should know, hopefully, that it's done based on the length or the status code. Nice. Okay, yeah, there we go. So we got text HTML, we got content length 0, we got status 200. 204. In Firefox treats this as an error, but 204 no content. Text HTML, we have no length, but everything did still work. It's 0 bytes. The browser believes that it got completed. It took kind of a while. I don't really know why it took that long, but it doesn't really matter, I don't think. Maybe there's a timeout. There's maybe like a default timeout somewhere. Could you explain a bit how GitHub Actions and this server works? Sorry, I missed the first few minutes where you also probably explained what you're working on. Yeah, no worries. So the goal is, so this test inside of CircuitPython requests. This test is currently reaching out to this third-party server HTTP bin, and it's essentially asserting that the responses are what we expect. But the thing is that sometimes this HTTP bin server is like not working properly. So you send it a request status 204. If it is working properly, it gives you back a 204 with an empty body. Everything's happy. If it's not working successfully, you might get back like a 503 or a 502 error, in which case the assertion will fail because it's not 204. And that is essentially what caused this actions failure here inside of requests. And so my intention is to remove the need for the third-party server. My intention is to write a server that can run locally just for the test itself, and that's like its only reason for existence is to be this little test server for this test. It will spin up whenever the test wants to run, it will shut down whenever the test is done, and it will basically just do these three same things that HTTP bin does. And then if we want, we could eventually maybe expand this to more of these tests. I think some more of these, like send requests and do stuff. So it could eventually expand and more stuff could get done with this server, or it could just cover this one. But the main goal is to get it so that we're not relying on that third-party service, and then whenever that service is down, like our test is failing, which is not ideal. So this is just a test whether there is an internet. No, so the test is actually testing the behavior of the requests library. So the request library, when it sees a 204, it's supposed to not need a content length, and it's still supposed to work. And it recently got fixed to do that. There was a bug where it wasn't working properly, and it got fixed, and now it is. When it got fixed, they added this test. So this test essentially, what it's intended to do is make sure that the request library behaves properly in these different scenarios. A 200 response that does have a body, a 200 response that does not have a body, and a 204 response which doesn't have a body just by the nature of its existence. And so that's checking those three things. It just happened to use this third-party internet-based system, this httpbin.org thing, which is convenient for checking that, but sometimes it's down. And so by doing it locally, it will make it so if that, like there won't be a third-party thing that can be down. We'll just run the thing we need, we'll do the test against it, and then we'll be done. Let me know if that does not make sense, though. Okay. We are basically at the point, though, where we need to figure out how to actually run it. Because I suspect that we just don't ever get to this, right? Yeah, so serve forever does not return. So in order to do this, we will need to, like, have a thread, I guess. Understand completely. Nice, okay. Join blocks threads. Do we need to join? We aim higher. What if we just say Python thread sample? What is join? Why do we need to join? Join method defines a task that simulates time consuming. The main part of the script creates two threads, thread 1 and 2, each one running a task with different arguments. The start method initiates the threads. The join method makes the main thread wait for the completion of each thread. I don't think I want that. When blocks the calling thread until the thread whose join method call terminates. I don't think we want that. Can you stop a thread? Without that? Need it to stop at some point. I guess we could, it seems janky, but we could make like a /stop endpoint, and then the test could send another request to /stop when it wants it to die. Can you call like thread.stop or something? Stop a thread? Does not provide a way to terminate a thread. Fill an event. Was the original purpose of the third-party server to enable tests like this? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm not affiliated with them. I can't speak for them, but that's certainly my understanding of it, because it's like essentially a web developer's test website. Like, it pretty much, as far as I understand, it only really exists to be a test thing. Oh. Interesting. We could actually just run the same server locally. I mean, we already made it this far, and I kind of want to continue down this path because this actually does a bunch of stuff that we don't need. But if we were to expand it any further than what I've done, it might make sense to just run this somehow, like the actual one. I didn't realize that it was that you could host it yourself. Maybe looked into that. So, maybe looked a little further into this one before I started. So how can we, is it possible to stop a TCP server that we called serve forever on? You must call shutdown from a different thread. That sounds pretty promising, actually. Okay, so that. Okay, so this is doing a little bit different. It's going server thread. Daemon true allows the main thread to exit even if that thread's running. Server thread start, sleep, server shut down, server closed, server stopped. So, but we need to, so we don't, I think instead of this, we want like a while loop that will keep going until we're ready to stop. Well, this is not calling serve forever though either. Breakdown of how to accomplish this. See, this is a little weird. It says start the server. It's not actually calling serve forever anymore. Oh, okay, it's this thing. I see, okay. Okay. Okay, yeah. So we could have some logic here that's like while keep going until we're ready to stop, and we'll have to figure out what does keep going until we're ready to stop mean a little more specifically, but do that, I'm pretty sure. We might want to be getting this part into here now, though, actually. Is that true? Well, and actually, we don't even need while, we don't even need that whole while thing, right? We can just put our test here, and then when the test is done, we shut down. Yeah. We don't need a while loop. We do need this. We will need this. This came from this thing, I think. Oops. Okay, home button wrecked me a little bit. Does that mean one part of the test suite container will be serving files to another? I mean, it will. My understanding is, or my intention is that this one test will be both hosting the server and sending requests to it, all locally inside of the one container that's running the tests. So my intention is not that like one test hosts the server and one test tests against it, but more so that, I mean, right now I'm only working with one test. So if we do expand it, there's room to figure out how we really want it to go. But right now my idea is just this one starts it, this one does its test suite, and then this one shuts it down. All within this one test. So we'll do this, and then this is saying host and port, so we're just gonna hard code localhost 5000. My TCP handler, so that's, I think, hopefully the thing we did there. So if we say from test server import this, and import this and this, we will give it the time like it says. We do want the server to spin up before we start doing anything. But basically, we then can do this, put all the test stuff in here. Oops. Hit localhost instead of this. And then we have path. Will be that stuff. Yeah. And then this should shut down the server. Don't think we really need this print. I'm not even sure if this print will come through, but we can try it and see what happens. So the way to run all the tests I know is python-m pytest. That succeeds or not. Or if it finishes, maybe it's like infinite loop. Okay, it's not infinite loop. Address already in use? Because the port's running already? I stopped the port. If I try to do this, I get no response now, right? It's already in use. Maybe it local. It's already in use. Is that different than what we were just doing though? For address? Okay, maybe we should be empty instead of localhost. I should figure out how to run one test, because if I could run just the one that does this, JavaScript has a keep alive. Oh. That mean one part of the test? Okay, I did see that. JavaScript has a keep alive method. Is there anything similar? I'm not sure I understand the question. Is there anything similar to JavaScript keep alive? Isn't the thread supposed to terminate itself? And then, oh, I see. I don't like that either. Address already in use. Is this... So did it try to run the server and fail, or did it fail to like import the server? I think we have the wrong type of thing here, maybe, because this is Socket server, TCP server. No, that's the same. Get that though. Why it's already in use? It's like when it runs under PyTest, it's kind of like got different tools or something. It runs just fine if you run it by itself. Though it is different. Can we run all of this server? You're concerned about server. Oh, about server ever being blocked. I gotcha. Oh. But this has all of these things. Ugh. I don't know. I don't get why this is like. Why is this like this? I don't necessarily understand why this can't just be a variable instead of like an annotated thing that then gets magically passed in. All right. This is dumb. We shouldn't be putting this in here. Okay. Let's not even make the requests, right? Because that's gonna tell us that we're not even able to run the server, which I think is the case. But let's make sure. Can I specify if I like if I do -pi? Does anyone know if I can like split which one? Python ITest specific test. Oh, this is old because that's like a different thing, right? This is saying just the Python file, maybe? That looks like it running it. All right. Okay. Okay. Maybe we had two problems. Maybe the address thing was a failure of the request. And the first problem is a failure of importing this thing, seemingly. Which is like the whole way that our server is working. Let's make sure. Yeah. Okay. That's coming from the request. So we're hitting that request. I don't know why we would be getting that kind of response back. If that's actually a response we're getting. But in any case, the real problem I think is this, which is for some reason this is not importing correctly. Be collected or whatever it said, right? Wait, no, because now I put those back. What? Oh, when we import this, is it running this stuff? Why is this different now? I wonder if this was getting ran when we imported. But I also don't, like, I changed it and it's still doing... Does this take time? Does it's not reading, it doesn't have the latest file. Or is this like time-based? Like, why is it not doing the same thing each time? I think it's like behind. I think when I run PyTest, it's not seeing the file that I'm seeing here. Like if I just made a save, or if I just made a change and saved it, I think when I run it, it doesn't see that. So like I made a fix, I saved it, I ran it. I think it ran against the old code. That's my suspicion. But it's not, this was not the problem. Maybe. I mean, it's tough to say, I guess, if it's not running the code you're looking at, but because it has init constructor. Because it has a init constructor. I can't collect this because it has a init constructor. I don't have a whole lot of experience with tests. If your not test case starts with the keyword test. Oh, that's annoying. Thinks this is a test because it starts with the word test. Yeah. Awesome. Oh. Okay. So presumably that ran the server for 2 seconds. I'm just gonna chill for a minute. I'm just gonna like let this hopefully catch up. Take a drink of mock server handler. That'd probably be a better thing to call it, wouldn't it? Let's do that. I will, again, just chill for a minute, though. And we are getting close to time. Probably run over by a minute or two here while I wait for this and then run it, see if it worked. If anyone has any other questions or comments or anything, now's a good time to get those in. Otherwise, I will let you know that we'll be back next week at the normal time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. No, 5 p.m. Eastern. 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. We did get address already in use again, though. I can't tell if it's... I mean... Okay, I think maybe... This is like a loop. Right? This is like 3 different test cases. But there's no like for case in test case, right? There's no loop here. So something is magically calling this function 3 times. And basically the server is still alive, I guess, the second time. So my guess is like maybe this works once, but then when it gets called again, the server's not dead yet. And so the address is in use, like it says. To combat it, I will try to sleep after we shut down, but that did not work. I really do not get this. I think I'm like pretty much thinking that this should just be a list and then a for loop, and then we would not have this problem. Let's try to test that theory. Any tips and tricks when working with multi-file programs? I will think about it, and I will try to come up with my best advice. I would say that I don't necessarily have great advice off the top of my head. I can give you my, like, how I tend to go about it is I usually start in one file, even if I'm like gonna make a class and then something that uses the class, I will start in one file. And then whenever I need a second class, so if the first class like needs a parent class, or if the first class needs another type of class to work with it, I will usually start splitting it up then. But I usually start in one file just out of convenience when I'm building a single class and like a main code or whatever that uses it. I will say, if you're talking like CircuitPython specifically, a good place to look is the Fruitium OS repo, because it's got all the apps in it, and well, they're not in the repo, but they're like get downloaded as part of the repo, and they all get stored in an apps directory, and eventually they're all gonna need to like know how to look for their own resources inside there, but CircuitPython itself actually takes care of a lot of that for you. But that's kind of like a layer above the application, sort of. I'm going to call this cases. I'm going to make it a list of tuples. And then here, we're just going to say for case in cases. And if we want to be super fancy, we could even say, like, I mean, this could be a dictionary if we really wanted it to be, but if we want to be super fancy, we can do something like path equals 0, status code equals 1, text result equals 2, and JSON keys equals 3. And then here, so then what we're gonna do actually is start the thread, sleep for 2 seconds, then loop. Do this inside the loop. After we're done looping, then we shut down the server. Yeah, and we don't do this at all. Do we need anything on that function? Can it just be like a function? Yeah, this function is just a plain old function. We won't have any of this. Case in cases. And then, though, what we need to do is... Oh, we don't want to call these like this, though. Index, index, index. Could just... Maybe a dictionary would be better, but whatever. That's going to be case path index, case status code index, case text result index. Let's try that. Nice. Does it print anything? I mean, it doesn't really, but we assume it worked because it passed, right? Like, it must have worked. Can we test it somehow to make sure it worked? What if we somehow made it fail by... What if we, we're gonna have to come back and take this out, I guess. I mean, I suppose we could add another test that fails, but... What if we return a 200... Or... Whoops. What if we return a 200 instead of a 204? We're supposed to return 204. That's what was requested, but we're going to return a 200 instead. That should make the test fail if it's actually working correctly. Nice. Oh. That's not why it should fail, though. Crap. Why would that be retrying? Actually, it would be retrying because it didn't get the length and it got... It didn't get the length and it got a 2... It didn't get a length and it didn't get a 200, which means that it needs the length in order to know when it's over. So it... I guess just try it again. We want it to fail with the assert. It should fail with... Are you serious? It should fail with the cert of 200 is not equal 204. But now it's back to not stopping the server. All right, well, I think we are done for the night. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. It's obviously got issues. I don't... Maybe that 2 seconds? I don't know. It's not doing the same thing every time, which is super frustrating for debugging. And I don't know if it's that thing where it's like not getting the... If it's like not getting the new file after I save it, or the server, if maybe we're actually hitting the old instance of the... Well, there's only one instance of the server now, though. I don't know. Anyway, we're close. It's like really close. It passes when it's supposed to pass, or it did once at least. I really want to see it fail how it should fail for an actual failure. And then I think I'll be satisfied with it. When that happens, then I'll PR it. But we're pretty close. Watching you work on Fruit Jam inspired my question. Thanks for the off-the-cuff remarks. I would also like to hear you develop your fuller thoughts. Nice. Okay, yeah, I will mull it over a bit more and think about my kind of best advice for larger or multi-file projects. But that is going to do it for the deep dive for now. Like I said, I will be back next week on Friday at the usual time of 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Central, which is how I tend to think of it because that happens to be the time zone that I am in for the deep dive on Friday. If you like this kind of content and want more, you can come join me on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Central over on my own channel. I stream working on similar kind of stuff. So if you're interested in this, then you can get some more there. Otherwise, I will bid you farewell. I will say I hope you have a good rest of your day and a good night and a good weekend and all of that stuff. And I will see you later. Thanks for hanging out.